Monitoring the server. SharePoint service-oriented architecture makes it surprisingly fault-tolerant. Employees may be able to use the sites and find and upload information while SharePoint services quietly throw exceptions in the background. SharePoint service-oriented architecture makes it surprisingly fault-tolerant. Employees may be able to use the sites to find and upload information while SharePoint services quietly throw exceptions in the background. Monitor the event log for potential problems. You will find that you'll be utilizing the event log extensively, not only to detect problems that have arisen, but to determine and to deter any future problems. SharePoint also provides a health analyzer in central administration that is used to monitor the SharePoint farm and look for any SharePoint-specific issues that could be a potential problem. Any changes made within SharePoint will be logged in the ULS logs. These are SharePoint-specific logs used to troubleshoot errors when they occur. If you see any errors in any of these logs, it is important to resolve these errors before rollout, or features such as search may not work as expected. Check the application event log daily during the review, testing, and rollout stages. Often you can intercept and resolve issues before users notice them. Audit logs can also be enabled within SharePoint site collections, and these are used to trace any changes that have happened within the site collection itself. Resolving errors can be rather tricky. For instance, recently, while importing a site from one site collection to the other, it had over 100 subsites, and in those subsites were all the groups associated with it. One of the subsites was deleted. It actually deleted one of the SharePoint owners groups that was assigned permissions all throughout those sites. So we had to start researching the issue. Do the detective work. Start doing the research. Use Bing, look at the forums, MSDN. If you have a Microsoft representative assigned to your company, utilize them. That's what they're there for. Is it reproducible? Well, we went out and we tested that. We took it to another server farm and did the same steps. Since this was reproducible, we were able to gather information via the ULS logs, via the event logs, and so on. Once we had a resolution, we had to test it. But instead of doing it on the production farm, which we would have had to have done during a change window, we took it over to the test farm and was able to apply the fix there. And when it comes to interpreting errors, not all SharePoint errors have an obvious resolution. SharePoint Server provides the ability to audit the usage of your SharePoint environment. Auditing capabilities allow you to track all activities that occur within the environment. The Site Collection Administrator has the ability to set the requirements within the environment that determine the type of actions that should be tracked. You may not want to enable everything because it can be system intensive. Reports are then available that can be used to review the logged events. These reports could also be used to create any needed audit reporting or statistics. You have the ability to set the audited logging settings to control the volume of audit kept over time. You have the ability to set audit logging settings, including audit log trimming, so it doesn't consume the log. Auditing for documents and items include opening and downloading documents, viewing items, editing, checking out, checking in, moving, copying, deleting, and restoring. List library sites will provide auditing for content types and columns, searching site content, editing users, and permissions. Since SharePoint Server auditing capabilities allow you to track all activities that occur within the environment, the Site Collection Administrator has the ability to provide reports that are available that can be used to review those logged events. These reports could also be used to create any needed audit reporting or statistics. Let's look at the event log to see if we have any errors regarding the server. We're going to go to Start, Administrative Tools, Event Viewer. When the Event Viewer opens up, you're going to see a panel on the left-hand side. Click the plus sign next to Windows Logs and select Application. In the middle panel, it's going to show you how many events you have logged and list those events for you. And we do have one right at the top that's indicating we have an error. So let's take a peek at that. Let's double click it to open it up. And it's telling us the SharePoint Health Analyzer that's built into SharePoint has detected an error. Drives are running out of free space. Available drive space is less than twice the value of physical memory. This is dangerous because it does not provide enough room for a full memory dump with continued operation. It could also cause problems with the virtual memory swap file. Examine the failing servers and delete old logs or free space on the drives. And it gives you some additional information. It's going to tell you the event ID. So if you have to research this to go out to Bing or to Google, you can type in that event ID and see if anybody else is having those issues or if Microsoft has a resolution for it. This would be an easy one to fix because the drive is running out of free space. It shows you the user, logged, the time and date that it was logged, and the computer it's associated with, and just in case you happen to be accessing these event logs remotely. If we click on the details, it's going to give us the information in more of a text format, a friendly view, or you can do it in XML view, depending on your preference. But for the most part, the general tab would be fine. Go ahead and click Close. So based on this, let's go look at our SharePoint Health Analyzer. Let's go to Start. We want to go to Central Administration, All Program Files, Microsoft SharePoint 2010 Products, Central Administration. You'll notice the red banner across the top of our home page. It's telling us the SharePoint Health Analyzer has detected some critical issues that require your attention. We could click View these issues, or we can go directly to the SharePoint Health Analyzer by clicking Monitoring. You'll see the category Health Analyzer, Review Problems and Solutions. Click on the link. And you'll see it's going to break it up into categories. Under Security Accounts, it's indicating that the accounts used by application pools or service identities are in the local machines administration group. So in that situation, we would go in and we would remove those accounts. Under the configuration, we have InfoPath form services that can't be filled out by a web browser because no state service connection is configured. And that also is just a configuration setting that would be resolved here in Central Administration. The one that we're looking for is under Availability. Drives are running out of free disk space. If this is a multi-server farm, we might have different failing servers listed here. And it may be failing for all the servers. We'll go in and take a peek. And it tells you the services. It's the timer service, the SharePoint timer service. Let's click that link. Drives are running out of free disk space. And then we're brought to the Review Problems and Solutions window. And this is going to give us some additional information. Under Title, it's going to be Drives are running out of disk space. The severity of the error. The availability is the category that it's going to be grouped under, and an explanation. Available drive space is less than twice the value of physical memory. This is dangerous because it does not provide enough room for a full memory dump with continued operation. So it's very similar, if not exact, to what we saw on the event log. Remedy. Examine failing servers, delete old logs, or free space on the drives. Another example of why you never want your log files to be on the same drive that SharePoint is installed on, or that your operating system is running under. And it tells you failing servers. If this were a multi-server farm, it would list all the servers that have this particular issue. And you can take it a step further and look at what the rule settings are. So we're going to click View. And we can come in and we can tell it to run this particular rule again, to alert me via email or mobile if this happens again. I can also choose to edit the item. If I know this is a problem but we're willing to accept the risk, you can come in and make some changes. The title, of course, is the same. The scope. The rule scope determines where the rule file is run. Do we want it to run on all servers? Any server? Let me expand this out a little bit. And it'll give you the additional information. If the rule scope is set to all, the rule file will run on all computers with the specified service. If the rule scope is set to any, the rule will run on the first available computer with the specified service. If it's running the service, it's either all or the first computer. It's best to have it for all. Schedule hourly. When is this rule going to be checked? Do you want it to do it hourly, monthly, weekly, or on demand when you come in and you tell it to run this rule? If you know you're not going to resolve it right away, you might want to tailor that down, or if it's something that it's not scheduled till a change window, something along those lines, you might want to bring this back to daily. Enabled. If this is not enabled, it's not going to check for this rule. And you can choose for certain options to have it repair it automatically. For instance, if a service stops, you could choose repair automatically and it will automatically start that service for you. And we could choose to delete the item from the health analyzer. I don't recommend doing that. It's preferred to just disable it so that you can re-enable it in the future. Now, here are all the rules that are available within SharePoint and whether they're set to repair automatically. Under Security, there are 3 rules that are going to run. Repair automatically, none of those are set to repair. Performance, configuration, there are 25. If you're running an upgrade and one of the databases hasn't finished its process or is not supported, you'll get an alert for that. Outbound email has not been configured. There's a variety of different options that you can choose from and rules that are being run against the server on a regular basis. And it'll also tell you the schedule of those rules. Notice when you get down to the bottom, it says 1 of 30 with an arrow. So we're going to click the arrow, and you'll see there are additional ones that you can choose from, and a total of 47. Now, if you have certain things that you're going to monitor that aren't in this realm, that aren't listed here, you can certainly add a new rule just by clicking Add New Item. This is no different than any other list in SharePoint, and you can add and modify this list accordingly. So let's go back to monitoring and review problems and solutions. So in this situation, it's making the recommendation we need to go delete our log files. Let's go take a peek at where our log files are stored. We're going to click Explorer, the C drive. And they're still located in the default location that I do not recommend that they go to, but because this is a demo purpose, we don't have an additional drive to push the logs off to. Double-click Program Files, Common Files, Microsoft Shared, Web Server Extensions. And here we are at the SharePoint root folder, folder 14. Go ahead and double-click it, and you'll see a folder in here called Logs. We have quite a few in here, and you will also notice that we have these diagnostic logs. Those are the diagnostic logs that are enabled in Central Administration. And here are our ULS logs. And you can see the server has not been up for that long, and yet it's already accumulating quite a bit of data. Okay, in this situation, we don't necessarily want to delete all of the information because it is fairly new. We would probably archive it off to another drive so that would free up the space on this particular drive. But for our purposes, since we are in a demo, we're going to remove some files from this folder and see if it frees it up. I don't know if it'll fix the problem because we are limited and we are on a demo box, but we're going to walk through the process. I'm going to sort them by date modified. And I'm going to delete the oldest. So we'll start here on the 25th, and we'll come up and we'll delete all the way to the 27th. So we'll select all of those files. And again, you wouldn't normally delete these. You would archive them off to another location, depending on what your company policies are regarding this. Press delete and tell it yes. So let's go back to our Health Analyzer. Click on Drives are running out of free space. And we're going to click Reanalyze Now. It's going to go out, analyze it, and resolve it if it can. If we haven't removed enough space, we'll probably have to come in and delete some more items. But because this is a demo, we're just kind of walking through the process so you can see what would be done. Let's go back to Drives are running out of free space and click Alert Me. If I'm going to be alerted anytime, this is a critical item and I would like to be alerted whenever something happens, I would choose who do I want to send the alerts to. Odds are it's not going to be an individual, it would be a group. It could be the SharePoint administrators group, depending on how many users are responsible or how many administrators you have responsible for your SharePoint environment. The delivery method, do you want it via email? And if your server's configured for SMS, you can certainly set it up for text messaging. Send alerts for these changes when someone else changes an item, someone else changes an item created by me, someone else changes an item last modified, and someone else changes an item that appears in the following view. And we only have all reports right now. And then you choose when to send the alerts. You might want to be careful with this depending on what item it is you're getting alerted on and how often it alerts. Do you want to get it immediately? And if it's checking every 5 minutes, if it's a timer job that runs 5-10 minutes, you could wind up getting alerts quite regularly. Or do you want to get a daily summary report? Again, it depends on the alert and how important it is to get that information right away. If a service has stopped that's critical to the business, you're not going to want to wait till the end of the day to get that alert. You'll want that immediately. So let's go back in there, and we have version history. If it winds up that you're looking at this alert and it's not the way it was originally set or the way that you set it, and you want to see if any changes have happened to it, you can click version history, and it'll come in and show you the last time that it was modified and give you the history of it. And again, you can go in to edit the item. If it's something that you're aware of and you're willing to accept the responsibility for it, then certainly you can come in and make changes and so on. This is a nice location too because it's going to give you a possible remedy and let you know which server and the services that are associated with that. So now let's move over to the site collection side of things. Let's go to our site collection. We're at the root, which is where we need to be because we're going to turn on auditing for the site collection. You can only do that at the site collection level, so we need to be at the root. Click Site Actions, Site Settings. If you do not see all these options under Site Collection Administration, then you are not at the root. Click the link that's provided that will take you to the root so you can configure the site collection. You'll see a link here, Site Collection Audit Settings. Go ahead and click on it. Audit log trimming. Automatically trim the audit log for this site. Specify whether the audit log should be automatically trimmed and optionally store all of the content audit data in a document library. You can go ahead and set these settings if you want to trim the logs. We're going to leave it at the default. And if you notice down here under Document and Items, these are the areas that you're going to choose what is audited in this site collection. Are we going to audit opening and downloading documents, editing items, checking out or checking in items, moving and copying, deleting and restoring? If you're getting complaints from users that things are disappearing on the site and there's changes and they can't explain why and who is doing it, you probably just have a user that's not that familiar with SharePoint making some common errors. So you want to start auditing those items so you can determine who that is and provide the additional training they'll need so this does not continue. We're going to turn on all of the auditing for the site collection. And we're going to allow editing users and permissions. Click OK. And then it's turned on. Now remember, this is going to be tied to our settings in Central Administration. So let's go take a peek at that and so you can see both sides of it. Let's go over here to Central Administration, Monitoring, Configure Usage, Health, and Data Collection. This is enabling usage data collection. This is going to go out to the sites and it's going to pull in the information as to what's being used and so on. But this has to be turned on for other auditing to work within your site collections. And it's also going to grab the information. A timer job is going to collect the information from the server and copy it to a database and then process that so that you can utilize that in reports and so on. And then let's not forget configure diagnostic logging. The events that are being in the event log that we looked at a moment ago, this will determine what events are logged. Right now everything's to the default. And then the trace log, those are the ULS logs that we looked at just a moment ago. This is the one that I keep recommending that should not be on the same drive SharePoint is installed in and the same drive that your operating system is on. You want it on a completely separate drive.